Mic testing. My name is Cassie Steiner. I'm the Sierra Club Wisconsin chapter. How's it sounding? All right, we're going, y'all. Everybody can have it. Anytime now. Okay. We'll wait for these last couple folks to gather up. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is the Coalition for More Responsible Transportation. We are holding a press event in response to the approval for I-94 expansion. The record of decision from Federal Highway Administration, as well as the final environmental impact statement, came out about a week and a half ago. We've been reviewing those documents, and this is sort of a preliminary response to what we're seeing in those. We've been fighting this project for over 10 years, have stopped it successfully more than once, and hope to do so again. Our first speaker tonight is Reverend Joseph Jackson of Friendship Baptist Church. He's the Vice President of MICA.
Good morning. I think it is still morning. Again, I'm Reverend Joseph Jackson. I'm the pastor of the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church on 9th and North Avenue. Currently the Vice President of MICA, Milwaukee Inner City Congregations Alive for Hope. And I'm on here speaking on behalf of MICA and the entire Milwaukee community, specifically the area that we're standing at right now. And I do have a few questions, perhaps rhetorical, but my first question is why? Why the approval by state and federal government to expand this freeway while the project is still under investigation for civil rights violations? And the decision that was made was one in the area with the highest carbon emitting options and also a larger footprint, more land, greater land. And why the hurry? What's the hurry? The concern for MICA is doing what is right, what is equitable, and what is just. Who benefits? Suburban residents looking for a faster, a quicker, a smoother commute into the city for jobs, for entertainment, and even for educational purposes. Who's at detriment here? Those who live along this I-94 corridor. Displacement of homes, displacement of businesses, significant air and noise pollution along this corridor, and possibly other reasons. I remember when I was 10 to 12 years old, living in the Brownsville area, going to school. There were plenty of businesses, churches, taverns, stores, and the I-94 came through, displaced my family, displaced other families, even displaced a bunch of fruit trees that Milwaukee used to have, and that hurt. Both the common council and the county supervisors opposed the expansion. The civil rights complaint has not yet been addressed. So again, I ask, what's the hurry? Let's fix at 6. We don't need to expand this corridor. Fix at 6, make it safer, make it better. In closing, why not consider a more equitable alternative than expansion of the I-94 corridor. Let's do what's right. Let's do what's just for this neighborhood and for our children and the entire Milwaukee community.
Thank you, Reverend Jackson. Next is Ann Bowie, a resident of the Pigsville neighborhood, so right next to this project. She's a volunteer and master naturalist with Friends of Valley Park and Gardens.
Thanks, Cassie. Morning. So I just don't know how long we're going to let freeways ruin our neighborhoods. And I don't know how long we're going to let our kids suffer and our residents suffer. But here we are again. We knocked ourselves out to try and pose an alternative. Fix it 6. You don't have to spend almost $2 billion, however many dollars, to make this faster for suburban folks, to make it easier for stadium folks. You don't have to let the kids in these neighborhoods, Valley Park, where I'm from, neighborhood, Story Hill neighborhood, kids who go to the Three Bridges Park, Mitchell Park, who are going to lose what little green space they have as a buffer between their neighborhoods and the freeway, all going to be torn down during the construction. More noise pollution, more air pollution, more water pollution. It doesn't make any sense. I hope that there is some way we can get back to sanity, that we can stop ruining neighborhoods, we can stop endangering the lives of kids. Fix it 6 doesn't make it go away, but it's a better alternative. Thank you.
Next, we have another community leader, Kyle Johnson with Black Leaders Organizing for Communities.
Good morning. My name is Kyle Johnson. I'm the political director at Black Leaders Organizing for Communities. And I'd like to thank everybody for showing up today. And I'd be remiss if I didn't start my statement by saying this is community right here. Folks that came out and gathering to make a stand is community. But it's tough because we can't hear each other. Community can't hear each other right now because we have cars passing by on a freeway. That's not what community looks like. I'm representing a lot of folks on the north side of Milwaukee. Black folks, poor working white class folks and otherwise, who realize that highways and freeways tear us apart. They keep us divided. What we need is to bring us together. We need highways and freeways to stop segregating our communities. So what we need to do is not only fix at 6, but we need to slim down to 4 and then reduce to 2. Because what we need to do is use land not for vehicles, but for people. There's so many other uses, whether that's development for housing, development for businesses, that we can utilize this land for. Taking upwards of 50 acres to expand, it's the wrong mentality. Just one more lane. Just one more lane to make traffic better. Just one more lane to reduce congestion. When we can see that that strategy clearly does not work, we can look to other states, we can look to California, we can look to LA and see how much land they have dedicated to their highways and how long they still sit in traffic for. Yeah. We should not replicate these same misguided solutions. We have folks in government who are choosing to ignore the needs of the people, the wants of the people, the desires of community. They're choosing to sell out to corporatists, to capitalists, to choose profit over people. And that's why we're gathered here today to say no more. We need to fix at 6. We need to reduce our land use for vehicles. We have a lot of infrastructure we can invest in, whether that's buses, whether that's trains, high speed, that move people at a way more efficient clip and way safer as well. So when it comes to safety, when it comes to clean air and clean water, when it comes to environmental impact and reducing flooding in Milwaukee County. These are all reasons why we need to fix Act 6 and then examine other ways to reduce the impacts of highways and freeways in our society. The last thing I'll say before I wrap up is we need to acknowledge the racial legacy that highways and freeways have created. The neighborhoods, the churches, the parks, the schools that were torn down, that were claimed by eminent domain by the government, that kicked out a lot of black folks out of neighborhoods in order to make the city better, to make the county better, and we still haven't remedied or answered to that legacy. Moving into, we're now almost a quarter of the way through the 21st century, and it seems like we're still using a mindset of the 20th century. We need to start thinking forward. We need to start planning forward. One day, what are we gonna look at? This whole stretch from here down to there is gonna be lanes, it's gonna be highways. From sea to shining sea is gonna be lanes. It's unacceptable. So I'm proud to stand here with community today to claim we need a fix at 6. We need to acknowledge that we have folks in government and the Department of Transportation that are ignoring a civil rights case. There's violations that are being looked into, and they want to continue to try to press forward with this project. Why? As the Reverend said, we need to think about who is profiting from this, because we know it's not the people. So fix it 6, and let's move forward together as a community to find real solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. There are a lot of local concerns with this project, but there are things that also impact us statewide and even further when you consider greenhouse gas emissions, climate change. The price tag on this project has grown to $1.47 billion. That is vastly more than our state's transit budget. There are a lot of concerns with this project. Next, we have a wonderful climate activist, Julie Enslow with 350.org Milwaukee and the co-founder of Peace Action Wisconsin.
I'm representing the Climate Action Group, 350.org. This proposal for increasing the number of lanes in our city is a disaster. The more freeway lanes, the more cars will come. The more cars that come, the more emissions that will impact the health of everyone who lives in this area. And the more greenhouse gases that are emitted, which will add considerably to the climate crisis. Just the opposite is what we need. No more concrete. We need to restore the earth, save the earth. We need to build public transit, not more freeways. We need a train going down here over to Madison, not more lanes of cars. So don't let the road building industry run the show and tell us what we want. We know what this community needs. We know what our planet needs. No more concrete. Fix at 6.
Thank you, Julie. Our final speaker is Dr. Renee Settle Robinson with Healthy Climate Wisconsin.
Good morning, everybody. I wore my outfit for you. I'm a doctor serving at a federally qualified healthcare center that is focused on serving the underserved, the underinsured, and those that have limited access to healthcare. And so I see every day the problems that are associated with what this expansion is going to cause. It's going to cause major health problems for the people that live in this community. They are not limited to air pollution, which is huge, noise pollution, which we cannot avoid hearing today, and a heat island that will be created with this expansion. So starting with the noise pollution, I need you to understand that that is going to make the people that live by this highway unable to rest comfortably because of the noise pollution, which is going to contribute to increased health conditions because they're not getting the kind of rest that we need to restore our bodies. And it's going to contribute to higher levels of mental health problems. The air pollution is probably the biggest one because it's all those things we cannot see. Whenever you turn on a flashlight, you see all of the little particles in the air. Looks like a little snowstorm when you turn on that flashlight. Those are the things that we don't normally see with our eyes, but they're in the air, and that contributes to air pollution. It's called particles or particulate matter. Some of those particles are small enough that when we breathe that air, it gets into our lungs. And some of them are so tiny, they cross into our bloodstream. And some of them are tiny enough to cross into our blood-brain barrier. And for those of us who are pregnant, carrying children, it crosses that placenta and gets into that fetus that's developing in the womb. Those particles are increased when you have an environment such as this. And I am adamantly opposed to the idea of expanding this. The other part of this problem is the heat island that's going to be created with increased asphalt. That asphalt will increase absorption of the heat, especially with the lack of canopy from trees. And that heat collects in the asphalt and will be released after dark, such that this area will experience 20 degrees hotter heat in the summertime, and it will mean that the night air will not cool as fast in this area, which will also contribute to disruption of rest. All of these things, especially the air pollution, means that people will die younger, dementia will be increased at a younger age, people will have premature births, even maternal death is linked to it, and asthma has got to be the biggest subject. Our children who are going to be absorbing under their growing, developing bodies that air pollution that's going to cause our future to be harmed. So please, if you're going to take additional money, instead of contributing it to expansion, contribute it to mitigation in the neighborhoods and increase the quality of life for the people who are located close to this highway corridor. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for joining us today. We continue to review the record of decision and the final environmental impact statement to weigh our options. At this time, we'll take any questions, and our speakers will be available for one-on-one interviews. Yes, that's exactly right. So the question was similar to projects stopped in Houston due to civil rights concerns. The settlement was transit funding mitigation. What would we be looking here should the civil rights case stop the project? A big piece of our solution is the transit connection. We have seen how multimodal transportation, walking, biking, transit, better connects people who most need it, especially, but anybody, to jobs, to other parts of the community, to healthcare. These are things that are very affordable to improve, but still create jobs, still create reliable transportation, and are less carbon emitting. So those are some of the solutions that we would be looking for in this case. Yep, that's correct. Yes, thank you.
If you or someone sum up the civil rights complaint and what you might have discovered since the complaint was filed?
They're asking for a summary of the civil rights complaint. Do you want to share that, Dennis? This is Attorney Dennis Grzinski.
Good morning. Thanks for being here. I'm one of the attorneys that has been working with the members of this coalition for probably 15 years on this expansion and other highway expansions here in the Milwaukee area. The Title VI civil rights complaint basically is based on the fact that the harms and injuries that result from the expansion are disproportionately burdening our minority communities, while the benefits of the expansion, which is some reduction for some number of years before the added lanes end up getting jammed at rush hour, as added lanes have become recongested almost anywhere when lanes are added to major highways in the middle of highly populated urbanized areas. It happens over and over and over in this country, over and over in other countries. It's not rocket science, but the folks who are going to benefit are those wealthier, overwhelmingly whiter rush hour commuters during rush hour times. Whereas the folks who live closest to this highway corridor are a much higher percentage of the population here than our state, our 7-county region, Milwaukee County, and it's roughly the same percentage as in the city of Milwaukee, which is the most heavily minority populated community in the state. Those burdens are an increase in the noise that we're hearing here, and noise isn't simply an inconvenience, but noise is also a cause of terrible chronic health conditions. It increases tension, it increases blood pressure, it increases respiratory, heart, and mental and emotional conditions. More lanes is going to lead to more traffic here, which is going to lead to more air pollution than if we had fewer lanes. That air pollution, again, causes that whole range and additional range of health problems. The prevalence of asthma, particularly in young kids, is highest in our minority populations, and the EPA's environmental justice screening maps show this corridor being relatively high up in incidence both of minority population, asthma, respiratory impacts, cancer caused by the kinds of toxic pollutants that come off of our cars, all of those things. taking 54 more acres of land and putting them into highway uses in a world where our storms are becoming less frequent but dramatically larger. The dramatically larger is the problem. That means flooding. The Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District has spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to address historic flooding problems in the Menominee River as well as the other rivers in the city. 54 acres, some of which that could be used for developing economically useful things, and some of which are going to be desperately needed to deal with the flood management of stormwater during our biggest storms, both for what we already have built and for whatever we might else want to build in the city, is one of the last things that this city needs, is more square miles of paved surfaces. All of those things have a civil rights impact and raise civil rights issues and problems because of where this corridor is located, because it's located in the highest minority populated city in the state, in the highest minority populated county, and it's just not right.
We're going to wrap up at this time. You're welcome to stay and ask one-on-one questions, especially if you don't have mics up here and it was hard to hear. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you all for being here today. We're going to close up the press event. If you are speakers, you can stay back for